Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013. I'm your host, Leanne McAdoo, and here is what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, veterans are denied access to their own memorial park. Then, can Obamacare fines be seized from your bank account? And is the president visiting Asia to push the TPP? That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Don't listen to him. Listen, he's the kook saying the government can't be trusted. He's the kook saying there's tyranny. He's the kook saying they're buying billions of bullets and armored vehicles and preparing an illegal war.
Tonight's top story. World War II veterans were threatened with arrest if they chose to visit the World War II Memorial in D.C. during the government shutdown. Veterans make the expense-paid trek to D.C. via the Honor Flight program. But when Honor Flight of Northwest Ohio's President Lee Armstrong contacted Park Services to find out if they'd be let in, he was told they'd be arrested.
I said, "Are you kidding me? You're going to arrest a 90 or 91-year-old World War II veteran from seeing his memorial? If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be there." She said, "That's correct, sir."
Well, in spite of that threat, today many elderly veterans, some of them in wheelchairs, broke through the barriers set up around the memorial as police, Park Service employees, and tourists looked on. Armstrong said, "The Germans and the Japanese couldn't contain us. They weren't going to let barriers contain them today. They wanted to see their memorial." Now, this happened one day after 200 members of the Greatest Generation refused to let the government shutdown keep them from visiting the memorial in their honor. Now, nobody was arrested as a result. But can you believe this? Our veterans were threatened with arrest for fulfilling a dream of visiting a memorial that is meant to honor them. But it turns out Obama only honors veterans when it serves his purpose of sending us to war with Syria.
Ty said he was hoping to take his children around Washington to show them the sights and the history. But Jaden, Madison, if you want to know what makes our country truly great, if you want to know what a true American hero looks like, then you don't have to look too far. You just have to look at your dad. Because today he's the sight we've come to see. Your dad inspires us, just like all those big monuments and memorials do.
Said, "Are you kidding me? You're going to arrest a 90 or 91-year-old World War II veteran from seeing his memorial? If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be there." She said, "That's correct, sir."
Well, it turns out Obama knew about the veterans' request to visit the memorial during the budget battle, but he rejected it. The White House and the Department of the Interior rejected a request from Representative Stephen Palazzo's office to have World War II veterans visit the World War II Memorial in Washington. So, Palazzo helped the veterans commit an act of civil disobedience against the Park Service on Tuesday, when he accompanied the heroes as they stormed through barricades around the closed memorial. It probably costs more to put up the barricades around the park to keep the veterans out than it would have cost the government to just leave it open. But because Congress ruined Obama's plans to go to war with Syria, he is playing hardball with them when it comes to his New World Order-backed Obamacare plan. So the veterans' request wasn't the only one that was rejected by the White House. They have also rejected the House GOP spending bill.
That's right, Leanne. The headline on Infowars.com reads, "Government shutdown. Pentagon spends over $5 billion on military and spy equipment." The U.S. Department of Defense awarded 94 contracts worth over $5 billion, including purchases of spy satellites, body armor, and drones on September 30th, the day before the government shutdown at the end of the federal fiscal year. This also included about $50 million in Reaper drones. And that's at the same time that we have this. House rejects GOP's piecemeal spending bills. The House on Tuesday night rejected 3 appropriation resolutions that would have funded the District of Columbia, veterans programs, and national parks after House Republicans set them up in a way that required Democratic support for passage. Now, I personally am not a Democrat nor a Republican, but it seems to me the Democratic Party is saying that you, the Republicans, will be held responsible unless you give us exactly what we want, the way we want it. Now, to be honest, there are some Republicans who rejoice in this government shutdown, but to say that it's the Republicans' fault that veterans are being kicked out of their own memorials is completely ridiculous. We'll go back to you, Leanne.
Nancy Pelosi had this to say about the Republicans. She said they took hostages by shutting down the government, and now they're releasing one hostage at a time. And she's not the only Democrat who's really ramping up this terroristic rhetoric when talking about the Republicans.
I think the only phrase that describes it is political terrorism. Nice global economy you got there. You want to threaten to not only shut down our government, but to blow up the world economy unless we go back and undo what we did according to the processes of our democracy? How dare you?
How dare you, Al Gore? You're really using all those hot buzzwords to draw this vision of terrorism because they have shut down the government due to Obamacare. But nobody is talking about how the government is holding the people of America hostage with this Obamacare insurance policy to pay off the bankers. I'm personally going to have to pay almost $400 a month in health insurance premiums because I am a healthy, young, single person who just so happens to make just enough money that I don't qualify for any government subsidies. But it turns out if any of us choose to opt out of, this forced enrollment in a private corporation by the government, we're going to face repercussions. Will Sheehan says that he tried to sign up for Obamacare yesterday, but chose to opt out after finding out his premiums for an existing condition would cost $597 a month with an almost $14,000 deductible. Sheehan claims that after he decided to opt out via the .gov website, he was sent an email threatening him with possible fines, a driver's license suspension, and a federal tax lien on his home. The federal government has consistently denied that any fines pertaining to Obamacare noncompliance could be seized from bank accounts, despite reports that last year the IRS had hired more than 16,000 new agents to harass citizens who attempt to evade the new law. And that is in addition to the more than 1 million essential IRS agents that are still working right now despite the government being shut down. Welcome to Obamacare. Well, stick around because after the break, I'm going to be talking with David Knight about an overseas trip that Obama is still going to take, even though the government shut down due to budgetary constraints. And then we're going to find out just how far the rabbit hole goes when I talk with the director of Take Back Your Power about smart meters. Well, in spite of the government being shut down, Obama is going to continue his trip overseas. And of course, his administration took a moment to blame House Republicans for making the president cut his trip short. National Security Council spokeswoman Caitlin Hayden said, "This completely avoidable shutdown is setting back our ability to promote U.S. exports and advance U.S. leadership in the largest emerging region in the world. But never fear, Secretary of State John Kerry is already there and will represent the U.S. in the region." So are Obama and Kerry really in the region to boost our economic ties, or are they there to sell us out to our creditors? Joining me in the studio is David Knight.
Well, Leanne, it was 2 years ago in November that Obama went and met with 25 heads of states in Asia. And he was reassuring them and also reassuring his commitment to TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The corporate media is spinning this as a way to box in China. The Obama administration is saying, no, we're not trying to punish China. We want to have mutually assured prosperity, not mutually assured destruction. But what they're going to do is they're going to have mutually assured destruction of sovereignty of all these countries. Going all the way back to Endgame in 2007, Alex was talking about how the Atlantic trade zones and the North American and the European were all going to be joined together into kind of global governance. That's what we're seeing now. This is what they've been working on for a very long time. Stakeholders don't include senators and congressmen. Ron Wyden wanted to be a part of this. They told him he could not see it. For the longest time, he raised enough of a stink about it that they let him come over and take a look at the documents, not his staff. But of course, 600 corporate lobbyists can pull this up with a password at any time. So this is not anything that serves the U.S.'s best interest.
Right, so we should be concerned because he's going over there doing all of these things, and he'll probably bring back to Congress something to sign at the last minute.
That's right. It's a fast-track trade agreement. We see this over and over again. This has now become standard operating procedure. It happened first with Obamacare, where they had to pass it before anybody could see what was in it. It's now become their standard way of operating, that they deliver a gigantic bill, thousands of pages. Nobody has any time to really know what's in it, and they're pressured to sign this. We need to be putting pressure on our congressmen to say, we want transparency, we want to know what's in this, and we need to get rid of this immediately.
Well, we're definitely going to keep hammering down on the TPP because this is insane, and I can't believe he's going there while our government is shut down. It's a slap in the face. Thank you, David Knight. Well, if you think this is just the first time Obama is selling us out to his corporate masters, here's the quote of the day.
You know, under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
Stick around after the break because you're going to find out how that cap and trade system is going to be raising your energy prices. We'll be right back.
Are we choosing our own destiny, or has it been pre-selected for us?
As we've moved through history, every great leader has had to understand the potential of information.
Billions of dollars have been spent, privately and publicly, looking at how to tap into your psyche.
From compulsory state education to the Hollywood media brainwashing machine, we are kept in perpetual bondage to the ideas that shape our actions.
When somebody obscures that feedback loop between you observing and testing it out and verifying it, they can take total control of your awareness.
All of this is happening so fast, you need to be ahead of the game.
How to engineer the opinion of the American people so that they would not only endorse but demand a war.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit.
State of Mind, because there's a war on for your mind. Get your copy of State of Mind, the movie, at Infowars.com. And remember, every order at InfoWarsStore.com receives a free citizen rulebook.
To find out if they'd be let in, he was told they'd be arrested.
I said, are you kidding me? You're going to arrest a 90 or 91-year-old World War II veteran from seeing his memorial? If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be there. She said, that's correct, sir.
Well, in spite of that threat, today many elderly veterans, some of them in wheelchairs, broke through the barriers set up around the memorial as police, Park Service employees, and tourists looked on.
Bullets and armored vehicles and preparing an illegal war.
Tonight's top story, World War II veterans were threatened with arrest if they chose to visit the World War II Memorial in D.C. during the government shutdown. Veterans make the expense-paid trek to D.C. via the Honor Flight program. But when Honor Flight of Northwest Ohio's President Lee Armstrong contacted Park Services to...
Tonight, veterans are denied access to their own memorial park. Then, can Obamacare fines be seized from your bank account? And is the president visiting Asia to push the TPP? That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Don't listen to him. Listen, he's the kook saying the government can't be trusted. He's the kook saying there's tyranny. He's the kook saying they're buying billions of...
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013. I'm your host, Leanne McAdoo, and here is what's coming up tonight.